Hello, my name is Craig Stevens, and this is the Change Mentor podcast. We have a great opportunity today to talk to Jacob Perkins about Amatrol, his company, and all the great things they're doing. I'm looking at it, Jacob, and I'm thinking this is exactly the time for this because we have such a need for people that have hands-on experiences and hands-on skills and core competencies because we're at a deficit in our country of these type of skills. So I think you're in the right place at the right time. Could you give us a little bit of a background about what you do? And maybe then after that, we'll talk about how you got started and how everything came about.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. So, for those that don't know, Amatrol, which stands for Automated Machine and Controls, we are a technical education manufacturing company. We produce what we call learning systems, which are these physical training systems that cover many different career technical education areas, CTE, and are coupled with thousands of hours of interactive curriculum, online multimedia, and content. We work in all 50 states, 70 countries around the world. We have English and Spanish and different voltage versions and different configurations. In total, we make over 1,000 different learning systems. And as Craig said, this is the time for CTE. Back in the 60s and 70s, it was very strong, and then it actually took a kind of a dive for many years. And I think part of that was the promotion, you so speak, of trying to push everybody to a 4-year college or university. And the reality is we've come to the conclusion that for a lot of these trades jobs, having technical certificates, 2-year associate's degrees are more than enough for someone to enter the workforce and be successful in one of these jobs. And they're high paying. Students right out of high school are earning 30, 40, $50 an hour working these jobs. So it's been an incredible journey, and we continue to invest heavily in research and development to come up with new systems to meet the needs of the workforce.
That's very good. So, can you give us kind of a brief breakdown of just the scope? Because when I look at your products, it looks like you have everything. Could you give us the scope of all the different types of problems that you're solving and maybe the types of industry that you're a part of? Just kind of a general rundown, because I think this is going to be very valuable to people.
Yeah, sure. So the main areas we cover are automation, robotics, mechanical, electrical, HVAC, which has actually been one of our biggest growth areas. We cover workplace effectiveness, safety, machining, plumbing. We cover even rigging. We cover, specifically in the automation side, mechatronics, PLCs, electric relay control. For the robotics side, robotic operations, programming, and many other areas. Really, anything on the advanced manufacturing, construction, trades, STEM, engineering side. We do a lot of project-based learning as well, like project kits and problem statements and solutions that students can build in some of our turnkey high school programs. So we cover it all in STEM, advanced manufacturing, construction trades.
It's pretty cool. One of my partners is Jose Lopez. And so he moves whole factories, right? And so he's always looking for people to do commercial plumbing, electric, HVAC, rigging, and actually decomposition of the factory and then re-establishing it somewhere else, maybe across borders and everything else. So this is somebody I'm going to have to introduce you to because I think he might be a good candidate for either a mentor. Every mentoring requires a little bit of tormentoring to get them off the starting area. I'm going to love to introduce you guys because I think you'll have all kinds of things to talk about.
Awesome. Yeah, it's
So,
kind of interesting because you don't know where you're going to wind up. I look at the education and your background as just a stepping stone, and you might go in as an electrician or working as an assembly technician on the line, but 5 or 10 years down the road, I mean, I can speak even in our organization as employees have continued to grow in their jobs. They've wound up in leadership positions and managing complex projects such as new technology adoption or implementation project or starting a new production facilities. So you never know where it's going to lead.
Yeah, those good points. Well, I also looked at your company history, a little bit about our story, and it has names of people who kind of sound like they're related to you. I kind of know a little bit of the story. You told me just a tiny bit, but can you expand on that? Tell me a little bit about how you got here and maybe the story of your company, because it looks fascinating in itself.
Yeah. So we're a third generation family run business. Amatrol was actually started by my grandmother and grandfather, Don and Roberta Perkins, back in the 1960s. It was a precursor company called Dynafluid, and they did automation controls and industrial conveyor systems for many local manufacturers in the Louisville, Kentucky area. Our headquarters are based in Jeffersonville, Indiana. We now have three different manufacturing locations, but we got our start making these custom solutions, and we were getting requests for training. Like, well, okay, this is great, this solves our problem, but how do we get people to understand how to operate this automated conveyor system on the line? And we realized that there was actually a greater need that could be replicated nationally instead of just making these one-off automated custom systems around industrial training. And so in 1981, a subdivision of what Dynafluid was, it was called Amatrol. We formally incorporated, and ever since then, we've been in business now over 40 years, making different learning systems. And originally, when we got our start, it was in hydraulics. And to this day, it is still one of our largest technical areas that we serve. We have actually a whole area just dedicated to assembling different types of hydraulic troubleshooting systems, portable, large scale, electrical, hydraulics, various levels used all the way from high school to community colleges.
I worked with the Civil Air Patrol, and they have a whole STEM kit that can bring people from elementary school up to through high school. But the STEM kits are more basic than the kind of things you have. They're like wood and hydraulics using different types of syringes and things like that. As an industrial and systems engineer, I think of Lean Six Sigma and tools like spaghetti diagrams, where do things go, and process flow and that kind of thing. Is that part of the curriculum? The Lean Six Sigma side?
Yeah, so especially, and I liken it to both a process and a journey. I say both because you talk to a lot of people and they might say, well, a student should be put on a specific program, but early on and we serve all the way down to basically middle school to early high school level. At that point, it is more of a career exploration, trying to see what students want to do as they progress in their careers, while at the same time giving them some of the foundation technical skills, some preparation. But as they progress, our philosophy is that eventually, hopefully by the time they're getting into college, that they've had some work experience, they've been able to get some certifications, they have some clarity on what career they want to pursue, and therefore prep them. And I say that because with regards to Lean Six Sigma or workplace effectiveness or safety, all of those things are taught at the beginning of all of our turnkey high school programs. We want students to understand the organization and how to be safe and all of these things before we get into the very technical topics. And so as the students progress in the program and then they get into these specific technical areas, the complexity and the technical side gets more advanced. So they get that exposure very early on, but I say that because it just depends on what program they do or what path they continue to take. Yes, they're going to get exposure to Lean Six Sigma and safety and all of these paths, but let's just say they go into more of a leadership or kind of organizational path. They're going to get more exposure in that area.
I thought that would be icing on the cake. Related to what you do. There's a university close to me. It's Tennessee Tech, and they have an engineering program. They have a lot of very hands-on, laser cutters and all kinds of things that the engineers And so my experience with talking to businesses, sometimes they would rather have a Tennessee Tech graduate. Sometimes when I talk to the industry leaders and manufacturers and other people, they said they'd rather have a Tennessee Tech person that has hands-on experience. And so I'm thinking that any university that has any engineering college probably needs to team with you because a lot of the engineering schools don't have hands-on tools or the experience to do hands-on. They're doing a lot of important mathematical and experimental research, and they're learning a lot of the basics. But some of the students have to actually co-op to get their hands on things. It sounds like you would just cover that need for them almost.
Yeah, we've seen a huge growth in universities wanting to adopt what we call applied engineering programs. Yeah, universities have traditionally always covered all those key technical subjects, but giving the students the hands-on experience and okay, yes, you've designed this and you understand how it all goes together now. Actually do it so you understand just because something goes together in a CAD program or conceptually seems to work, that it actually works in the real world because there's a lot of little nuances and challenges. And to your point, how do you use all these tools to actually accomplish that? So I think there's a lot to be learned in that. And what we're seeing is that small to medium size university is wanting to adopt this. The larger universities that are already doing a lot of specific R&D research or have some of the other liberal arts and other areas that cover their revenue and student base, less so, but those smaller colleges that are facing cuts, especially in the current situation that we're in, are having to think outside the box of how can we generate revenue by having workforce programs, adult ed programs, how can we train students and provide better value for some of these degrees to match up with what the tech colleges are already doing.
I can also see the large companies would really want to have their supervisors and other people learn the basic skills too, because some of them may just go in, or some of them are come up through the ranks and can actually work through the processes, but you're always changing. I mean, there's always brand new things coming into the workforce. And so related to that, implementing AI processes into your overall manufacturing systems. And I know one thing that comes to mind is I work with a couple of companies that have all kinds of sensors, and then they have real-time data analysis based on the AI tools they have. Basically, data science using AI.
Correct. I kind of look at it as a like different levels, and historically we've always been more on the analytical side for the last 5 to 10 years. Most manufacturers have been collecting digitally some sort of data from their manufacturing environment. And what we're seeing now are manufacturing companies implementing AI tools to take the information that those sensors are collecting and actually do what I call predictive
Right.
analytics. So telling before a machine actually fails what is going on, being able to make sense of trends and so forth to better position your resources ahead of time. And specifically for our manufacturing, and we're considered a medium manufacturer, we're about 400 people in total. But we are implementing AI in our processes, specifically around purchasing and also inventory. We're actually in the process of implementing a automated storage and retrieval system that will connect to our ERP system to manage orders. And that will be done intelligently of how to determine stock levels and parts, because one of the challenges in our business is unlike a lot of businesses where they make one thing or on a year-to-year basis, they can pretty much within maybe 5 or 10% predict what they're going to produce. We produce a lot of little. We're talking 1, 2, 3 systems of a specific product, and then the next year we might produce 10 or 0. And so it's very hard to predict that because a lot of it's related to grants or training
Oh,
opportunities and
yes.
what specific schools need, and what they need in 2026 and 2027 and 2028 is probably going to change. So having better visibility into that using AI, implementing that with our ASRS system is definitely going to help us take a next level up in our production capabilities.
So my mind was going to preventive maintenance. all the predictive stuff that needs to happen in order to keep everything running. If you have that problem solved where you can tell before it happens something that might happen, companies teaching them. Also kind of a lean, maybe just in time type of inventory systems, and also all the warehousing that goes along with that, because I know there's a lot of AI solutions on, slotting and the planning of where things go. Just last week, I talked to somebody I was coaching, and they would really like to have kind of a benchmarking exercise where they could go in and see some best practices related to warehousing. Every company needs to have a benchmarking partner where they can come in and see what best practices look like.
Yeah, we definitely do some things very well. We've also had to find out what works well for our specific use case. We're producing a lot of different things, but irregular quantities on a yearly basis. We do follow lean methodologies, all the way from just in time. We use standardized fasteners, 5S the place.
Sure.
We implement all of those things in our facility. But what I'll say is that some of those like specific things of like, okay, how do our orders work? How does our assembly operations? We're very heavily dependent on highly skilled labor to assemble these systems. If you get a chance to see our manufacturing facility and you see the inside of one of these systems, I mean, there's in some cases a week or weeks of wiring that had to have been done by one of our electrical assembly technicians. And
Wow.
we've explored trying to automate some of those things, and on the fabrication side, automated some things. We recently just put in a batch style powder coat line. We used to do manual painting. We have an automated tube cutting machine, and we have some other technology. We've implemented autonomous mobile vehicles to transport parts between the processes. But that assembly part that is very hands-on and highly skilled and requires the dexterity of your hands and stuff, there's not really a way to automate that. So we've actually just invested more heavily in training them. We actually have hired a trainer on staff that actually helps to train incoming technicians. We partner with our local career center and community college to find a lot of our workers, and that has worked out pretty well for us.
Very good. So if you were to talk about your ideal clients and customers, who are the customers, I guess, on the lower end, if the client is B2B and the customer is individuals, how would you describe those groups?
Yeah, so we are B2B. Anybody that basically has a training problem. We have an education side and we also have an industry training side. And a big part of what our industry training side does is help develop training plans for companies. And we actually have an additional tool. It's called e-assessment that helps employers develop a prescription of learning customized for each individual that is looking to be hired, that can help tell them where they're proficient and also where they need help in some of the different technical areas. So they have kind of a specialized skill set in helping guiding companies through that process. On the education side, the more ideal company or customer would be a school or a college that is seeking to develop a training program. That is something we'll help with all the way from the lab design, working with the architecture team, making sure that it meets certification state standards, that it's able to articulate with your local schools in that area, helping to develop that ecosystem will help you through that whole process.
I was looking at your company, it said careers. And so what type of people should apply, or are you looking for? I mean, how can I be part of this?
It is really cool. We do have both remote work and on-site work for our curriculum development side. We have both the content side and we also have the software development side.
Mhm.
Typically for the content side, we hire a lot of instructors because they know best how to write the curriculum, not as an engineering level, but how do you relate these technical topics to a student in a progressive manner so that they can understand. So a lot of past instructors we've hired on the curriculum development side. On the design side, engineers, mechanical, electrical. For the manufacturing, industrial engineers, technicians that have either worked for like HVAC technicians, just that
Yep.
have worked for an HVAC company. They've been great at designing and assembling these HVAC systems in our manufacturing facility. I mean, a lot of diverse backgrounds, a lot of former veterans, former teachers. I mean, all sorts of backgrounds because we do so many different things.
Do you want to share anything on your website or do you want to send somebody to the website? I
If you
can
just go to www.amatrol.com,
guide me. Tell me what you'd like for them to see.
yeah, so if you go under the products section, if you click products and you go down, you'll see there on the left that it says e-learning and simulation. If you click on that, those are
Okay.
some examples of what students would encounter in the 5,000 hours of interactive e-learning content that we've developed. It's a fully SCORM compliant LMS system. We can
Oh, very nice.
run it through Canvas, Blackboard, any other platform. We actually have a team of about six in-house individuals that help with the integration of the LMS system. You'll see down there at the bottom some of the like different modules. It says like an M number, like
Oh, yeah.
MNET 527. And then underneath of that, it says specifically a certification. We try to align a lot of this content to different, what we call IRCs, industry recognized credentials that are on state approved lists, whether it's in Tennessee, Indiana, throughout the nation, and each state is different. So you can just see some of the different courses, and these are courses that we've recently come out with. You can see all the graphics and content, and if you actually went into the LMS system, it would be animated and there would be interactions and like pop-ups, and you'd have the option to do some of these exercises virtually and all sorts of cool stuff.
There's just so much here for people to look at that they could spend a couple of days on your website.
So under product categories, if you go there, if you were to click on like automation, you can see some examples of some of the different, if you scroll down, some of the different systems that we do. So if you click on like the tabletop smart factory right there, some of these CTE centers are doing in high schools. This is a common system that's used in one of our turnkey programs. It's called Industry 4.0 Fundamentals. It's a heavily automation focused career exploration and preparation program that aligns to industry recognized students that's industry recognized credentials that students can get that tie into many of the post-secondary institutions in all 50 states. It's a portable system, mechatronic system, and it has different options where you can incorporate, make it smart by the sensors. You can also do data analytics. We have a software we use. It's called Squeak's Eye Gear. You can change out and put different types of robots on the system. And so then students learn how to adjust the sensors, program the robot, make programming changes to the PLCs, analyze the data to see. And what it's actually doing is just running pucks through a process, and it's sorting these pucks by condition, whether they're plastic, metal, what type of color are they? White? Are they, black colored or a different type of color to represent in a modern manufacturing environment some of the different automation processes that take place, such as like in the logistics industry of sorting different types of boxes based on condition. So those are some examples of what we even see down at the high school level. And a lot of our systems are designed to be modular. So like those stations can be broken apart. It's actually 4 different stations. You can break it into an individual station and have students focus on just that one or connect it all together.
I imagine you could probably put some kits together for children that would also teach this. I can imagine you got all kinds of different things you could do.
Yeah, we partner with many industrial partners, Rockwell and Fanuc being 2 of them. We try to use industrial components and controls in our products. Yes, it is important that the students understand the principles of how it works, but the specifics of how to program a robot or a industrial PLC differs based on the brand slightly. So we want to make sure that it's as real world as possible.
There's also a need for this in all the service industries too. For example, healthcare. One of my earlier jobs, I was the process improvement guy for 800 doctors' offices, 800 practices, and some of them had 100 people. We're always looking at concepts related to just lean and process improvement and those kind of things. So,
And that's what we found is it used to be that we had like back in the paper days or early e-learning days, they were either discs or individual lap books. And now what we're seeing schools transition to is getting a site license for the system because then they can use it in different classes. And there's a lot of content in there on like math and physics, the lean modules.
oh yeah.
You'll see classes in healthcare or other different technical areas utilizing this content in their school, even though initially it was purchased maybe for advanced manufacturing or construction trades.
Yeah, it all evolved from the manufacturing side, didn't it? And in industrial engineering, we like to say that we invented it. And then everybody else adapted to it. And then we lost control of it, which is that belongs to everybody. You must feel really satisfied that you're making an impact.
Yeah, that's the number one reason we do this job. It's a mission-based company, and our goal is to transform the global workforce one life at a time. And we take that to heart from each instructor to each student. I mean, I have countless stories of going into a high school at, day one, and then a year later after the instructor has, been trained and onboarded and, getting the school's culture to adopt CTE and promote it and just a night and day difference, and that's a very rewarding experience when you go back in and you remember that instructor that was really struggling because he was just a lot of times with CTE the instructor may not have any background in CTE. They may have come from health sciences and they're needing to find one to teach the class the next year. And so we've tried to make the curriculum as turnkey as possible and kind of if you can follow it through the skills and objectives and how it's outlined, easy to navigate. But even then, we recognize the most important part is the instructor and providing them the training and the resources and helping them through that process has really been a big part of our success. And then to go back and see the night and day difference of where they started and then they're having success is pretty cool.
If you were to say something in the ending, what kind of wisdom would you give your potential clients and maybe customers and just other people who are kind of interested in the subject, maybe in supporting you in some way? What kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would say it's important to take action and start to prepare for our future workforce today. It takes time, especially in education or training. It's not an overnight process. I could test it's usually a year to three-year process. And in many cases, these schools are behind. So if we want to catch up, we want to compete on a global level, and we want to make sure that we have qualified technicians, which are critical to our nation's infrastructure, defense, and many other areas. We need to take action, and it starts today. And so, whether it's reaching out to me or your other, local resource at community or tech college, your local industry partners, you should know what your local industry partners are doing in your area. You'd be surprised how many times I meet schools and I say, well, what are your top 5 or 6 companies in this area that are employing students? And they don't know, or they've never been in any company at all. So it's important we take action. We start figuring those things out now, and that's going to set us up for success in the future.
So if they wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
You could either reach out on our inquiry page. If you go on the website, you can just type in and say, like, I need help with CTE training, or connect me to a resource. We work with a EDA distributor network of hundreds of different individuals in all 50 states and 70 countries around the world. They have many education, political connections, connections with local companies. If you have specific questions about what we do, please feel free to reach out to me directly. My email is all lowercase J Perkins, as in Perkins Restaurant, Perkins at amatrol.com.
Very nice. And then amatrol.com is the website again. It has been my pleasure talking with you. I know that this is such an exciting subject. I'm now evangelist for you. So I would love to go around and saying, hey, you guys need to look at this because this is something that's required for the future. It's something that's very practical, hands-on. The salary is going to be similar, if not better, in the long run if they learn these skills along with anything else they need to learn. I think that people ought to get on the emails and reach out to you. So this has been the Change Mentor podcast. And my guest is Jacob Perkins, just like the restaurant, he said. And this is Amatrol, which is I'm a new fan of. And I will catch you on the next podcast.